Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm back with a new layout for Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the 2021 January kits again. And I'm also using an exclusive cut file for this month. I think it's really cute. It's perfect for a big title, special kind of love. I think the font is really fun, and I kind of already have an idea where my pictures will go. So I have three cute little small black and white photos here, and I thought that I would kind of tuck them underneath the word special since there's that little nook there. I may move the third one, I'm not sure, but that's kind of where my idea started. And I wanted to use this paper here. I thought it was cute with these little teeny tiny flowers. There's some orange ones, and then maybe like a coral color, and then some pink ones. And when I want to use a big pattern paper like this that's really busy with a pattern, I like to just tear it and basically use it for half of the page. So that's what I'm going to do. Tear it, and I'm going to glue it down to some thick, smooth white cardstock. That's the Basil Marshmallow. It's really good for mixed media. So I'm just going to glue down this flower paper here, and all the papers in the kits are exclusive. So this month's kit is the only place that you can get those. So for the bottom half, I'm going to add some clear gesso. This is Art Basics Finnabair, and this is going to prep the cardstock for watercolor, for paints, anything liquid that I add to it, and it's just going to allow the colors to kind of run and blend before it dries. So for the top part of the paper, I'm going to use white gesso. So you can see the difference here, what the white gesso does. It helps to soften up the pattern, kind of blend out or fade out some of the pattern. And I still want it to be visible, but I like to make it a little hazy and a little cloudy. And this is just going to help the cut file stand out a little bit more, because this pattern paper's got a busy pattern, and if you put too many things on top of it, things are going to start to get lost and they're all going to blend together. And since this cut file is a title, I want the words to be visible. And I know that I'm going to add some color and things to that. So I'm going to go ahead and add some gesso to my title and to some of those rolled flower die cuts that we get. I have 4 here, and I'm going to go ahead and add gesso to those as well. So I cut the title on some plain textured white cardstock, and I know that if I want to add color to it, I want to be able to blend the colors. So everything's going to get gesso. So everything is dried as far as the gesso goes, and I'm going to add some color to these flowers, and I think they're really, really fun to use. I think we get a couple of different styles of these and different sizes. So I'm going to use the color kit and then mix in a couple of other things. I'm going to use the Naughty or Nice inklings that we got last month, and it's kind of a cross between a red, pink, coral color. And then I'm going to mix in some of the Lindy's powder called Cocklebell Coral, I think it's called. I already put it back in my stash, so I don't have it right in front of me. Cocklebell Corals, I think is what it's called. But it's a really pretty brownish blush coral color, and I like to mix and blend different colors. So I'm going to blend that with some of this Naughty or Nice inklings. And then I also have a Lindy's spray, the light pink color that we got a long time ago. And it's fun to just dive back into some of the older color kits that we've gotten over the months, because chances are you can pull those colors back to add to the current color kit to create new colors or to create that perfect shade that you're going for. And I like to mix different brands with different styles. Like I love to mix the liquids with the powders and just see what you can come up with. I even tried to use some of the light pink Nuvo crystal drops that we got several months ago, but that color was just a little too light, so I didn't wind up using any more of that. But yeah, I want some flowers that are pink. I want some that are more on the coral side. I'm trying to stick with those colors that are in the pattern paper, which are the orangish color, the coral, and the pink. So that's going to be my color scheme. I'm going to try to stick to those main colors. And these flowers are a lot of fun. There's so much that you can do with them. You could leave them unrolled like this, and I think that they would make a really cool background element. And then, of course, you could roll them up and make them into actual blooms that are very dimensional. Very, very cool. So I'm going to keep going with these flowers. I'm going to splatter on some white acrylic paint just to add some interest, to add some white space, or not white space, but white areas, I guess, on the flowers to kind of lighten up some of the petals. I'm going to blend some of this in, leave some of it splattered. It's just another layer of color to add some dimension to the flowers. So, yep, I let them sit for a little bit, came back and thought they needed some pops of gold. So I went into the Shimmer's Christmas Cheer that we got, was it last month or the month before? I can't remember. I have so many color kit items on my desk, I lose track of what month they were. But this one is called Shimmer's Christmas Cheer, and it is a gorgeous, glittery gold color. It's so pretty, and when it dries, the glittery, shimmery factor is awesome. So I'm going to keep working, adding some of that, seeing how that looks. And I love the shine that this gives. Very, very shiny. I let those dry, and then I wanted to darken up a couple of the areas to match that deeper color on the pattern paper. So I just pulled out a red gelato from my stash, and I'm going to dab it on a couple of these flowers and just use my finger to kind of smudge it to add some darker areas. I just wasn't satisfied with how they looked yet, so I kept working on them, took a break. I'm going to come back and work on the actual background. And I'm going to start with that light pink Lindy's spray and then add in another Shimmers that we got a long, long time ago called Cotton Candy. And it's a really pretty, soft, baby pink color, but it matches the flowers, some of the flowers in that paper. So I'm going to try to add mixed media kind of behind where the cut file is going to go, and then kind of behind where the photos are going to go. And I want this to look like a nice big pink color section to just really make the cut file stand out. So I want to make sure I get a lot of that on top of the pattern paper. And you can kind of see here how the white gesso on the pattern paper faded out the flowers in that area, but there's still plenty of flowers to see. And this is what I was talking about earlier. By creating that solid space for the pink color, it helps the cut file stand off the page a little bit more, and you're able to read it. Because if I was to put this on top of those busy little flowers, I feel like the title would get lost in it. So while that dries, I decided to do something crazy with the title. I decided to cover the whole thing with stitching in 3 different colors. And I looked at it and I thought, how could I stitch through this without ruining it? And so I thought, well, let me just stitch it to a piece of scrap paper, see how that turns out, and then cut it out. So that's what I did. I stitched through the whole thing on my sewing machine in pink, orange, and gold, and I was so excited about how it turned out. It's so textured and so fun and so different. It did take some time to cut it back out, especially on those little inside pieces. But I love it, and it gave it such awesome texture and interest, and I love it. But when I went to put it back on top of the background, it wasn't very visible again. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go and add color to it. So I'm just going to go back with these sprays and color it with each color. That coral orangey color that I'm using is called Mango Tango. That's also a Shimmers. We got it a long time ago. It's probably been a couple years, but we did get it. And then for the gold, I'm using the Jen Hadfield Gold Glimmer Spray. What's it called? Gold Glitter Spray. I'm getting my glitters and my glimmers mixed up. But we got that in last year's Christmas kit. It's been over a year. But yeah, still using it, still loving it. And so now when I bring it back on top of the background, I felt like the background color was too light. So we need to darken that up to make the cut file stand out even more. So I'm going to come back in with that Naughty or Nice Inklings and keep going with it. And as you can see, yes, this is a lot of liquid for this poor pattern paper that's thinking, what are you doing to me? Can you not see that I've had enough? Because it is buckling, it is wavy, but it's okay because you're not even going to be able to see that when I put the cut file down and add the photos. That's not going to matter. And when it dries, it's fine. The gesso helps tremendously with protecting the paper, but it does have a breaking point at some point when you add, you know, so much, it's going to start to ball up and fall apart. But I made it work, and I think it turns out okay. Taking a break from the background again, decided to pop the cut file up because I want dimension as always, but trying to glue something flat to this wavy background is not going to work. There we go. I added some more and I let it dry, and you can see how dark it is now. But since the cut file is light or lighter, I felt like I needed that darker space, and now I think it looks good. I rolled up 2 of the flowers that I colored earlier. I'm only going to wind up using those 2. The other ones were more of like a pointy petal, and I couldn't get them rolled as well, so I'm just going to stick with these 2 for now, and then I'm going to add in some die cut flowers. I'm going to just cut out the colors that I want. I don't want to add any green on this page, so that knocks out any leaves. So I'm going to cut out just the pink flowers that I want to use specifically, and I'm going to cut some of these from die cuts. I'm going to use that little bird that's over on the left. That's from the die cut pack. And then just anything that matches this color scheme. Anything that's pink, coral, or orange, I'm basically looking for. So then I thought, well, you know, I'm going to use 2 flowers. I felt like I needed a third one, but I did not have a third one of this style because I've already used them. So I thought, let me trace one on my own paper, cut it out, and make my own. The problem with this was that these flowers had already dried, and they were very hard to unroll and lay flat to trace them. But I'm going to attempt it anyway. This is a hot mess. Yes, this whole layout is a hot mess in the making, but, you know, we're going to keep going. So I kind of started tracing it. Now, this is white cardstock that I've already gessoed from a previous project that never happened. So this is gessoed cardstock. I tried to trace it. It wouldn't stay still. I couldn't get it right. Yeah, it was just not happening. So what did I do? I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to cut it and see what happens. I'm just going to wing it. So I just start cutting a spiral on this paper and just was hoping for the best. I'm like, let's see what happens. See what happens. It was actually surprisingly very easy to cut because you're just cutting in a big circle until you get to the very end. And it didn't turn out perfect, but it turned out okay enough to use on this layout and to match these other 2 flowers. Yeah, I was kind of surprised by how it turned out. So yeah, it's already gessoed, and I'm going to make this one pink in the beginning. I go back to the shimmers and the Lindy's spray. I add in the Naughty or Nice and let it dry over there to the left. And I do wind up adding more gold to it. I take that Jen Hadfield gold glitter spray and wind up making it more of a gold flower. But I was kind of proud of myself for just winging it and making my own wonky flower. And you'll see it here in a minute once it's done. But in the meantime, while it's drying, I'm going to go ahead and add some tissue paper behind my photos there. Right now, that's the only layer that I'm going to add to them. I like to have a little bit of a messy layer of something behind there. And at first I thought I might only use 2 photos, but I do stick the third one up there, and even though it's up higher, I think it works out okay because I usually like my photos to be kind of mismatched and crooked and, you know, not in a straight line anyway. I do decide to add some layers behind 2 of the flowers, and I just use a Pocket Life card. It's kind of an orangey coral color, and I just cut it, distress the edges, and use it to kind of, especially on the top photo, since that photo is against the busy background, I feel like using a solid color border around the edges kind of separates it from that busy pattern and kind of helps it jump off the page a little bit more. And then I add the other half of that card behind the photo on the right. And I just like that strip of color. It kind of helps divide it between the photo that's beside it. And then since the cut files popped up, I'm going to pop up the photos also by adding a little bit of adhesive foam under there. And even though they are layered on top of each other, it's okay. I remove the foam behind the L so it can just stick right on top of the photo there, and everything will be the same height. Yeah, I like layering things and making them look a little crooked and askew. It's my favorite. So this is what I've got so far. I went through all of the chipboard stickers and found some little teeny tiny flowers that matched. I'm going to use a couple of those. I found a heart that has the exact same pattern as that paper up top, so I thought, well, I have to use that. Try to use some of these puffy sticker speech bubbles. Oh, there's my gold flower. I think it turned out pretty cool. It doesn't wrap as well as the die cut ones that we got that were already made, but for the sake of this layout and for the sake of me just winging it, I feel like it turned out okay. But yeah, I love how shiny it was. It turned out really pretty. I like that it's pink, but it's also gold. See, it kind of goes. I think we're going to go with it. It's not perfect, but I just wanted another flower like that up on the other side of the layout. I like to use, well, not all the time, but sometimes it's nice to have groups of 3. So if you have something on this side, have another one over there. And in this case, I have 2 of those things clustered together and one way over on the other side. But I still like the idea of having 3, even though they're all different color. And, you know, that one is kind of wonky and homemade, but scrapbooking is supposed to be homemade. I'm going to go with it. I like it. I may do that again. This is what I got so far. Everything is pretty much glued down. I've got another little cluster of flowers going over there to the right of the word love. And now I'm going to start to bring in some thread. Now, this part is tricky because I want metallic gold thread down at the bottom to kind of pull from the gold flower. I want some pops of gold down here. And the metallic thread is really hard to loop up for this kind of technique because it's a lot stiffer. So I had to kind of wedge it under there and kind of add some glue and fix it just so it would stay put, because it wants to just straighten out because of the nature of the texture of it. But I like that pop of gold down there in that area. I'm going to make sure all these little chipboard flowers are glued down because there's gesso on the background and things usually don't like to stick to gesso. This is some pink thread. I'm going to stick over here to the left, kind of where the 2 left photos meet, just for some texture, some extra pop of color over there, and glue that down. I'm using Scotch tacky glue, if anyone was wondering, and I put that in the bottle. The bottle is a fine liner bottle that has seen better days, but it still works perfectly, so I love that bottle. It's very well loved, and yep, I've worn the label off with my gesso paint fingers over the years. This thread also has given me grief. It's a light pink, but for some reason it's like a thicker width, and it wants to straighten out on me. It doesn't want to loop very well, so I had to be very careful with that, but I did want a pop of thread over on that area as well. So that is done. Now come the splatters. I'm going to come back in with the Jen Hadfield because, you know, gold for the win. Always love me some gold. So we're going there. And it splatters so beautifully. I love it. So sparkly, so shiny. A little bit of pink as well. I'm going to come back in with that Shimmer's Cotton Candy and add some of that also. And I think I'm getting to the very end. Last thing to do is journaling. I do wind up adding another pink die cut flower kind of underneath the E in love because I felt like that space was kind of open. But I didn't want to write my journaling up higher because I didn't want to cover up all that pink. So that's why I brought the journaling down a little bit more, and then you can see where I added that other flower. But anyway, that's the final layout. I really like how this turned out. I love the color scheme, and I really love the stitching on the title. I don't know, the idea just popped into my head, and although I did have to recut it, you know, after I had stitched it to another piece of paper, it made it a little thicker, and I just think it turned out really cool. And these rolled flowers are so much fun. Oh, I did add some wood veneer there. I forgot to mention that. But here you can see all the dimension, the textures, the colors. This is a very dimensional layout, and I like how it turned out. I hope it gave you some ideas to try. I hope you may have learned something or learned a new technique, or maybe you learn what not to do, you know. I do some pretty crazy things sometimes, but it's all fun, and Let me know if you have any questions about any of the techniques or the products or anything at all. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and happy Valentine's Day. Today is the 14th, so I hope you get to do something fun and eat lots of chocolate. Anyway, I'll see you guys later, and thanks for stopping by.